श्री एन विश्वनाथन एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर आरबीआई ने आपना प्रेजेंटेशन माटे वी नाउ इन्वाइट श्री एन विश्वनाथन एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर आरबीआई for his keynote address.
Mr. Dr. Abhayankar, President NAFCAB, Shri V.S. Das, my former boss and in a way my guru in urban bank area, Mr. P.C. Sahu, my colleague and RD, RBI, Gujarat and Ahmedabad, Mr. Thakur, Mr. Kumar, Co-Operators from different parts of Gujarat and some from other parts of India as well. I must say that I'm very happy to be here to speak at this conference of urban cooperative banks, appropriately titled SAHAKAR SETU 2014, focusing on the theme of next-gen cooperative banks. Cooperative movement has its roots in people of small means finding ways to fend for themselves in the wake of the Industrial Revolution era poverty. In fact, the Rochdale Equitable Pioneer Society, which is actually a group of a few mill workers, is considered as the prototype of the modern cooperative society. Over a period of time, cooperative societies have evolved as an institutional framework for economic empowerment of the less privileged in the economic strata. They had the friendly neighborhood character about them. There was a mutuality of purpose, and more than law, social and peer pressure ensured that everyone played his or her part for everyone else's benefit. In India too, cooperatives as a concept was in vogue in various forms and ways, but the formal cooperative movement got true impetus with the passage of the Cooperative Credit Societies Act in 1904. There were several other landmarks for and developments in the cooperative movement, but I think I'm not going to dwell on that so much. Suffice to say here that an important watershed movement in urban cooperative banking sector was the passage of the Banking Regulation Act as applicable to cooperative societies, which brought the cooperative banks under the regulatory purview of RBI. I must begin by saying that a cooperative bank is somewhat different from many other cooperatives. A cooperative bank has two sets of stakeholders. One, you have the depositors who may not be members, and you will have borrowers who may be members. And that leads to an important requirement in corporate governance. Secondly, when we compare a bank with a non-bank or a real economy entity, there is a lot of difference. What happens in if you look at, we have what is called as a CRAR of 9%, it turns to be a leverage of not less than 11 times of one's capital. But in a real economy, if an industry is a debt equity of more than 3 times, would start making us worry. But here we allow banks to raise deposits to more than 10 times of their capital. And what are these deposits? These deposits are uncollateralized. You don't give in a security. You don't give in a security to the depositor. But when a bank gives a loan to somebody, to a borrower, it takes security. So the banks have a very distinct role of financial intermediation, where they collect uncollateralized money from the public and lend to borrowers. And they are highly leveraged. But when it comes to a cooperative bank, it is even more, because the deposits a part of the deposits come from non-members, while the borrowers could be members. All this put together would require that the level of corporate governance in the UCBs is of a very high order. Such high quality corporate governance will be possible if the management has put in place high ethical standards of behavior, and equally importantly, if the bank has people with the skill and knowledge and technology to run the bank on sound lines. Banking, even in the cooperative banking sector, is going complex, and the capabilities of its people and systems should commensurate with that complexity. The urban cooperative banking sector witnessed phenomenal growth during 1991 to 2004. From 1307 urban cooperative banks in 91, the number increased to 1926 in 2004. Deposits increased over 1100% times, from 8,600 crores to over 1 lakh crore during this period. The relative share of UCBs in the financial system also rose during this period. This growth path was possible mainly on account of the enabling policy environment in the post-1991 period, which encouraged setting up of new urban cooperative banks. Further, the deregulation of interest rates enabled the UCBs to mobilize vast deposits, which together with the liberal licensing policy propelled the growth of the UCBs both in terms of the numbers as also the size. There is, however, no gainsaying the fact that in the process the sector played a very important role of providing opportunity to a large number of small savers to get into the banking system. Every sector goes through small bouts of difficult periods. UCB sector also had such ups and downs. But the failure of Madhapura Mercantile Cooperative Bank, not far from here, had a deeper impact on the sector. Everyone knows that it was a case of bad governance, and the bank's failure had a systemic impact because several UCBs had placed funds with the MCCB. The failure of this cooperative bank in March 2001 resonated in other parts of the country as well. It was not confined to Gujarat alone. There were other places where this problem was being witnessed. And as a result, there was a kind of crisis of confidence in the sector. That this problem is largely behind us. Today we are talking of growth, we are talking of development, that the problem of Madhapura is behind us is because the Reserve Bank, the state government, the central government and the sector work together to put in place a mechanism because of which today we are talking of a much better sector. It resulted in drawing up of a vision document for the urban cooperative banking sector, entering into MOUs with state governments, and I must mention specifically that Gujarat government played a very important role in devolving the MOU and was the second state in the country to sign the MOU with RBI. And as a result of that, we set up what is called as a TAFCUB, where it's a very unique system where not only the regulators but the representatives sat together in determining how to deal with the problem. I think it was a tripartite arrangement, which even today one should say is working very, very well. Now, as a result of that, so I said we have today the Madhapura crisis behind us. Let us see, I'll just give you some numbers to tell what I'm saying. The deposits and advances of the sector stood at 2,781 billion and 1,809 billion as on March 2013, registering a growth of 16%, 14% over the previous year. So the sector started growing like almost much before. Out of 1,606 UCBs as on March, 1,416 UCBs, that is about 82%, 88% had CRAR of more than 9%. So they are not undercapitalized. Profitability of the sector has shown improvement as the net profit increased from 32 billion in 11-12 to 34.86 billion in 12-13. Asset quality has improved despite the problems of NPAs elsewhere. Net NPAs have actually come down in urban cooperative banking sector, which again is something that we must all be proud of. It's because of this confidence that at one time when Reserve Bank had prohibited expansion of the urban cooperative banking sector, we have reopened fresh branch licensing, And in fact, the Malagam committee has recommended even new bank licenses subject to certain conditions, which are of course under examination. While we can rejoice over what has been achieved so far, we are very happy what we've done, we are not in an unmixed comfort zone yet. While the number of negative net worth UCBs we still have has come down from 157 to over 50 now, 50 is still a large number. Even now, occasionally, banks are failing. The reasons for this are not far to seek. In fact, Das Saab did mention them, so I'm only articulating them again in a little more details. Some of these problems are lack of professionalism in management. Most of the problems faced by UCBs are due to governance issues and lack of professionalism. There is no system of ensuring fit and proper persons are in the management. Despite RBI requiring the UCBs to have professional directors on their boards, this has not got universal adoption yet. In some cases, the cooperative principles of management has ceased to exist because it is being run by just one or two persons, which upsets the delicate balance between management and depositors, which is very critical for the proper functioning of the urban cooperative banks. There is no professionalism in recruitment. There is no central recruitment system. There is also lack of skill among the staff of UCBs, and they don't have a system of regularly upgrading the skills of the staff. Obviously, there are costs involved. Technology. Only 32% of urban cooperative banks have CBS. We have asked everyone to get into CBS. We've given time up to the end of this year, but I think we need to push that. Again, costs are involved. Whether in each UCB will be able to spend that money, we must look at. But what happens when technology is not adopted is that it gives rise to frauds. Use of manual working system gives rise to frauds, and inadequate skill makes it even worse. Das Saab referred to low capital raising ability. Urban cooperative banks cannot go to the capital market to raise capital. RBI has given some new, in 2008 we gave some guidelines. I was fortunate enough to lead that group. We gave some recommendations and some of them have been put in vogue already. But those type of instruments, particularly say long-term deposits, handling them requires greater skill. You need to have better risk management. You must understand what is the risk involved, manage them, mitigate them. But whether many of the urban cooperative banks have that ability, one needs to look at. The urban cooperative banks also have liquidity problem. If they have a liquidity, they have nowhere to go. And many of the cooperative banks have placed funds with higher cooperative institutions like a district central cooperative bank or state cooperative bank. Some of these are illiquid because those DCCBs are themselves in problems. We have been exhorting the UCBs to maintain the entire SLR in government securities, but that has not yet happened. You would have seen on 4th of this month, we have issued a circular saying that it helps you and has its own disadvantages. We have said that the SLR and CRR for all UCBs will be on par with the scheduled UCBs. So we have brought down the SLR to 22.5 for you as against 25 in the past, while the CRR is 4%. We have also given a timeline to the urban cooperative banks to move out of their funds in cooperative banks and other forms of liquid assets to what is required under the notification that we have issued. All these are moving towards improving the overall liquidity of urban cooperative banks. But, as Das Saab said, a large number of urban cooperative banks are very small. They may not be able to provide for this on their own. They require some support. Which is why we thought we need to have a kind of an umbrella organization. See, you look at the choice of words, I think it's very important for me to highlight here. Many places, it's the umbrella organization that we call is at the apex. It's the apex organization because people put funds there, the funds come back. We didn't call it apex. Apex is the boss. We said umbrella. Umbrella means there is support involved. Umbrella supports against sun and rain. So that is the kind of concept that we have for the umbrella organization. And that is the kind of role we wanted to play, not just being a boss of collecting money. So, and as Dasab said, apart from the committee which I chaired where we referred to this idea, 2 committees went in detail on this umbrella organization. And I must tell you that the 2-3 places, particularly if you look at Netherlands or France, the cooperative bank is the largest bank there. Rabobank is the largest bank. Crédit Agricole is the largest bank. And they have happened because of the support that they have through this umbrella system. The APEX system, but umbrella system is more the way I would like to put it. And we therefore thought that we must have some such arrangement in India for the urban cooperative banking sector, for them to harness their advantage of being small, being nimble, being close to their clients, and at the same time being able to harness what you call the advantages of technology and better corporate governance supports. So the 2 committees which went into this were that one headed by Sri Das, which was constituted to very specifically look into this aspect, made some very wide-ranging and I would say important recommendations on how to go about this, and that was again looked into by the Malagam committee. The Malagam committee has said that you should have two umbrella organizations, one at the national level, which will do the real financing part. You will have what do you call as, it will give the payment system, it will give liquidity support, it would even give capital support. All those can be done at the national level. But it said there are so many ancillary services that small UCBs would require, that can be done at the state level. So those kind of services are IT support services, governance services, training services, and those are very, very critical for the running of an urban cooperative bank. I can tell you, there could be cases where people are doing a few things wantonly, but many of these are due to lack of knowledge and awareness. So I think creating a framework for regular skilling of the urban cooperative banks through their own mechanism is what I think we must move towards. Therefore, I see that the global experience that we have already, legal framework that we have in India, the various recommendations that have been made by the various committees, we have to evolve an umbrella organization that meets our requirements, meets our aspirations. In this context, I thought the Center for Banking Research, Development and Excellence that has been set up, in a way, has been flagged off by the Honorable Chief Minister today as a hub for training and capacity building in the UCB sector is a good initiative in that direction. Gujarat has been in the forefront of many innovative movements, and I think this is a great move that the Gujarat Federation has taken, and I compliment them, and I wish, as Sri Dasab said, there are still a lot of imponderables to be answered. We'll find together. I mean, just as we have found solutions to the more critical problems so far, I'm sure that we'll find ways to solve the problems that we have in our hand by working together, by taking all the stakeholders together. And I'm very confident that this inauguration of this center is going to be the harbinger of a new development in cooperative sector, not only in Gujarat, but all over the country. So let me thank you for giving me this opportunity.